Well, hello strange people, welcome back to the channel. Come out again today to carry on my little trip down the Tamar from source, which you saw in the last video, or video before last, to the sea. Somewhere in there runs the river, so we'll get to it very shortly. I'm going to be quite honest, we're about 1.5 to 2 miles further downriver than the source, and we've missed 2 of the 22 road bridges that cross the river. To be honest, they are tiny. One is very overgrown and you can't even see it, and the other is on private property, or I should say, to actually look at the bridge is on private property, and it's quite overgrown, and it would have been, well, one side's overgrown and the other side would have been pointing into somebody's garden. I didn't really want to take a photo of that. So there are innumerable footbridges across the river. I don't know how many, don't think anybody really knows, but we won't be taking too many photos of those either, although we should be taking look at one that crosses the river over here in a minute. And there are 2 railway bridges which we will go under in the canoe, but for now I need to find the river, so I'll bring you back shortly. So there you go, absolutely tiny. Just the other side of these woods there is something just a little bit different. So our little river or stream has run into a lake. It's actually a reservoir built in 1973, finished in 1975 to furnish water for the town of Bude, which is 6 or 8 miles that way on the coast, and it's very empty. Not of people, mind. There are a lot of fishermen here today, but very little water in it, very little. But still, we've had a very dry period, and even though we've had rain in the west, we haven't had nearly enough. And the droughts have already started in a fair number of places in the UK. Well, we haven't reached that point yet. I don't think it'll be long. Don't think it'll be long at all, especially since we've got another hot period coming in. So yeah, this is the upper Tamar Lake reservoir. And there is a lower Tamar Lake, which we will go to presently. forgot to mention the dam. So that's 22 bridges, 2 railway bridges, lots of weirs, of which only, I believe only 2 I've got the portage around, and a dam. Quite a nice view from up here. Right, well this is our 3rd bridge, well the 3rd bridge over the Tamar, our first bridge of the trip. I've just had a look over, and a kingfisher flew under the river. I couldn't be so unlucky as to not have had the camera on. But there she is down there, river running. The welcome to Devon sign. We won't cross that. And there she is down there. And in theory, our first weir. Right, you remember I said back along that there were 2 lakes. We've just been to the upper lake. Let's go out of the sun a minute. We've just been to the upper lake, walked around it. Took 2 hours to walk around. This is the lower lake we're coming to. I'm actually quite excited to see this lake, and I'll tell you why presently. So, I guess you're wondering why this lake's got me all excited. If you remember, I mentioned Bude earlier, and in 1973 they finished building the Upper Tamar Lake. I've got no idea where I'm going along here. Anyway, 200 years before that, in 1774, they decided Cornwall needed coal. Our mines were starting to kick off, and we haven't got any coal down here as such. And there are no deep water ports on the north coast of Cornwall. Padstow, very nice, but it in deep water. Newquay, again, very nice, or was very nice, not so nice anymore. But not deep water. They needed a place to bring the coal in from Wales without having to go all the way around Cornwall to find one of the deep water ports which are on the south coast. In fact, I think Falmouth's the 2nd deepest water port in the world. And so they needed to come up with an idea, and they came up with an idea. 1774. A lot happened in the 1770s, 1780s. A couple of years after they got the Act of Parliament to actually build this, the colonials over on the other side of the pond decided to kick off. 1776. So us got a little bit busy then. Plus we was at war with Wales. At war with Wales. I bloody love Wales. Anyway, we were at war with France. and money was tight. And then of course Napoleon kicked off, and we were a little bit busy with E. Then come 1812, and the colonials kicked off again. So there wasn't a lot of money rolling around building projects like canals. And that's what the idea was. They were going to build a canal from Bude all the way down to where the Tamar becomes tidal at Gunners Lake, where a vast majority of the mines in East Cornwall are in the Gunners Lake Calstock area, and that's the area that I come from. So Cornwall could have been an island had they had the money to do it. Anyway, long story, very long story short, they finally got funding in the early 1820s, 1822 I believe it was. An Act of Parliament in 1823 to start work on the Bude Canal. Now, obviously the Bude Canal as it is now is not part of the Tamar River, so I've not actually gone to Bude to film it. This, theoretically, this bit here is now the only part that is part of the Tamar, part of the river. So I had to come here and film it. But we will take a little jaunt down the canal, if I can find the canal. The canal still exists, although it's dry for much of it. This is, I mean, look at this. Isn't this handsome? Isn't this handsome? Now why, you might ask, did they want to build the canal in the 1820s? Well, it was partially still for coal, but mostly because the town of Bude has a beautiful beach. Beautiful beach. And that beach is very lime rich. And around here, and all the way down to where I live, in fact nearly all of Devon and Cornwall, or West Devon and Cornwall, the soil is very acidic. So they wanted the lime to put on the soil to act as a fertilizer basically. And then they would bring produce back along the canal, and anything else really. It was a trading canal. The canal as they built it went all the way to the town of Lanson. Now if you're from Cornwall, you know that it's called Lanson. It isn't called Launson, as it's people anywhere that Emmets and newcomers all say Launson. It is Lanson. It comes from the Cornish land Stefan, so it's Lanson. And yeah, the canal went all the way to Lanson, which is 30 odd miles, 35 miles I think it is. And it also went to Holsworthy, and I went through Holsworthy on the way here today because the bridge is still closed, so I had to take a detour. A 2-hour walk around that lake, 2-hour drive to get here. Anyway, I went through the town of Holsworthy. Holsworthy is a town inland, and the sign on it says, "Welcome to Holsworthy, ancient port." Now I can only assume, I'll have to look it up, but I can only assume that's because of the canal. There was something a little bit different about this canal too. If you go to Bude, you'll see the sea lock, beautiful thing to look at mine, and you'll see a proper canal coming off that sea lock. Now that proper canal goes 2 miles, that's all, 2 miles. And then it goes up an inclined plane, and I'll talk about that a little bit more in a minute. Did I say one dam earlier? Only I could forget this lake needed a dam as well. There's so many features left in this canal. I mean, when you consider it ran from 1823 to 1891 when the railways finally killed it off, and there's still bits of stonework. There was an old sluice gate back there, and the canal is still perfectly, you can see it perfectly still. It's damp down there, but it's not running, obviously. But it's just incredible just how much there is still left. You consider that it's been over 130 years. Over 130 years since it last ran, since it was last used. It'd be great to open it up again. Don't know if it's possible, or sections of it. Beautiful. I can't remember how wide the canal is now, but I can tell you that it ran with something called a tugboat. Now, a tugboat, these tugboats, were 5 foot 6 inches wide, 20 foot long, held 20 tons of sand and other produce on the way back, and they were poled, chained together, and there were 4 to 6 pulled by a horse along this towpath. It's a lot of weight for one horse, isn't it? That's a lot. So yeah, we pulled along this towpath. Bring you back when there's someone else to look at. So I can't remember if I said, but each one of these tugboats had wheels. So when they came to an incline, they would be unchained so that only one went up at a time on the incline, and they would be chained to a mechanism on the incline, and the wheels would be aligned on L-shaped wheels. The L-shape obviously to try and keep them in line and in track. The chain that pulled them up was powered by a water wheel at the top, and that then pulled them up the incline. That's all but one incline, the steepest and longest of the inclines. Now that one was done by an absolutely ingenious method, truly ingenious method. The designer, it's gone right out of my head now what he was called. The engineer, the main engineer, Green I think, he worked out that the water wheel wouldn't be powerful enough. It was 930 odd feet I think, the distance it had to travel uphill, and it was a 1 in 4 hill, so it was damn steep. And he worked out that if he sunk a shaft down deep enough, he could fill, it sounds ridiculous but it's so ingenious as well, you could fill a bucket, and the weight of the bucket filling with water would lift the tugboat. And he worked out that you'd need a bucket that could hold 15 tons of water, and when it got down the bottom it was basically unplugged, ran out of an adit back into the canal. How ingenious is that? So as one bucket went down, the other bucket went up. Two buckets capable of holding 15 tons of water down a shaft with an adit at the bottom. An adit, if you've been watching my channel for a while, you will have seen mine adits. They're basically for draining water away. Generally at the bottom of the hill, and they're for draining water away out of mines. But obviously in this case, it's the 15 tons of water from the bucket. I'm not 100% sure how it was unplugged. I don't think there was anybody at the bottom. So I'd be intrigued to know how the bucket became unplugged and emptied. But it's just so ingenious. Absolutely ingenious. They did have a lot of trouble. The rails would break a lot. Chains would snap. Imagine being in the way of that. Ooh. I don't think anybody rode on them. I think they walked up the hills. I'm racking my brains now. I think it was 9 inclines all told. And as I say, the steepest one was 1 in 4.5, which is pretty damn steep and over 900 feet long. The others were a good bit shorter and a bit less steep. But even so, that's a hell of a bit of engineering. And then of course they carry on along a canal, along a contour line, which is what we're on now. The canal's here on my left. The river is down. Don't know if the sun's going to let you see it, but the river is down just the other side of this water meadow. So we're straddling the river, so I'm counting this as walking along the river. I'll bring you back shortly. So here we are, Verworthy Bridge. The river's starting to look a bit more respectable in size. Let's go and have a look at the other side. Here's your welcome to Devon sign. So I'm not going to get caught out again. Last time, as I say, there was a kingfisher. So I'm not going to get caught out by looking over the bridge without the camera on again. Looks like there's been some flooding there at some point, obviously in the winter. Might be a good idea to get rid of that. This is, well, just in case you're wondering, there you go, there's a sign. River Tamar. It's our first sign. 4th bridge. Weak bridge, 17 tons. There is our first sign to let you know you're entering Cornwall, or Canoe as it's properly known as. That's a pleasure to see, that is. Most of the signs that run into Cornwall say welcome to Cornwall Agastanar, but this is the first time I've seen one that actually only says Canoe. That's nice. It does say welcome to Cornwall, and underneath it says Canoe. But that's the first time I've ever seen one that says just Canoe. That's made me smile. So the bridge is back there, and the canal is up here. So we've already made a slight little bit of height above the river. Just in a mile. Didn't feel like it when I was walking it, but yeah, it's a good, maybe 10 feet. Right, let's enter in this spot here. This is quite interesting. So this is Verworthy Wharf, our first wharf on the canal. The wharf building over there. So yeah, Verworthy Wharf. I think what we'll do is we'll finish here, because basically it's just going to be the same old thing now for the next few miles. I think what we'll do is we'll go and have a look at where we're going to put the canoe in, which is literally a couple miles downriver. The canal weaves and wanders around through the landscape. It goes away from the river a little bit at times. But I hope you found this interesting. So as I was walking away, I noticed a sign that pointed towards this building. This is at Verworthy Wharf still, and it's a little museum. And it is brilliant, absolutely brilliant. So, remember telling you about the biggest of the inclined planes. I said it was 930 something feet long. It's 935 feet long with a lift of 225 feet, making it the highest inclined plane in the country. There was once a canal store, stables and a blacksmith here, along with a steam engine to pull the tugboats from the boat bays up the incline if the innovative well and bucket system failed. So the bucket system was the main way it used to go up and down. There was a steam engine if it failed. Brilliant. Brilliant. It's got a map here. Let me just turn you around. So there's the upper Tamar Lake where we've been, and the lower Tamar Lake. We're now at Verworthy Wharf. This then carried on down to the Holsworthy branch and all the way down to Druxton Bridge, which is Bridgetown, which is just outside of Lanson. Unbelievable. And there's Bude. I hope that gives you some idea. Shame it doesn't show the route of the Tamar on there, but that's okay. Then over here, picture of the inclines. And this, the wheels of the tugboat. Now, I don't know if I'm making it out, hopefully it is. One of the rails, L-shaped rails, and the wheels that kept on the incline. There's a picture of what this wharf would have looked like back in the day. Brilliant. It's great that somebody's actually kept this piece of history alive. The wheels again. Pardon me. picture of all the inclines. Or a map, I should say, not a picture, a map. All the water for this comes from this one lake, the Lower Tamar Lake, up here. Came all the way down, all the way along here. Brilliant. Well, I'm chuffed as nuts to have discovered this. Let's close the door. Somebody's got a horrible squawky little dog. And somebody looks after the wharf still, to a point. Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Wow, that was a truly nice surprise. Just to give you an indication of what the canal, what reason why I'm not carrying on along the canal. Viewed, there's a sign in that said viewed 6.5 miles as a crow flies. 13 miles by canal. So then the next takeout along there was 5.5 miles. And whilst that's not very far, that's a 11-mile full walk. It's getting late in the day, so I'm going to make my way back to the lower lake, make myself a brew, and then take a 2-hour drive home. I will stop at the point. I think I'm going to stop at the point where we're going to start the canoe journey. I'm going to tell you now, the canoe journey might be a couple of months away. We're going to need some rain. The river's just not going to be deep enough. But we'll see. I hope you've enjoyed it so far. I hope you've enjoyed the video. And I'll catch you on the next one.